to the Bleed Big Blue podcast, dedicated coverage of the New York Football Giants by your hosts, Marco, J Money, Tim, and Captain Negative. Streaming to you live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch.
What is going on, everyone? My name is Marco. You are listening to the Bleed Big Blue podcast. It's 2019, January the 9th. You are listening to us live on Facebook, Twitter. Let's see what else. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, of course, and Twitch. And I must say, Twitch is really stepping up their games. I see a lot of people jumping into the stream on that. So please, if you are listening on other platforms, follow us on all of them. This way, you don't miss on any of that goodness. That's the longest intro I've done in a long time. I see the comments are coming in already. I see I got to block a bunch of comments already. Look at this. All right. Block. There we go. All righty. Who do I got on the lines? I think my co-host. Let me open up the lines. What's up, Justin? Is that you?
Marco.
Yes.
Are they saying profane things in the comments?
Yes. They are.
It's unfortunate.
In reference to black quarterbacks.
This is
Get
a
out
great.
Ah,
This is a great time to be a Giants fan.
Oh, God. Stupid people.
I
Can I
block.
just say before we get started, Marco,
Yes.
new Hope music on Blog Talk. Have you heard it?
I believe so. I just put it up. No, the whole thing is different. I
Right.
bypass that.
Okay. I was going to say, I would recommend at some point in the near future, if you could be on hold and listen to it. It's like they took the old Hope music and turned it into a Rastafarian jam. I'm excited. I'm ready to go tonight.
I haven't heard.
I'm ready to go, as you could tell from our pre-discussion.
Yeah, when I look at my phone and I see 114 missed calls, missed messages on Facebook Messenger. I was like, I only brought out the garbage. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's all Haskins, right?
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I am all in. You know how I was like big on Sam Darnold?
Nice you guys did.
You know how I was big on.
Me.
You know how big I was on Sam Darnold last year? Maybe Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield. One tweet put me in the stratosphere.
It's since been deleted.
Well,
He wants it.
the internet, nothing is ever deleted in the internet.
Oh, no. That was coming. His agent or whoever's looking out for him, they don't want him to pigeonhole himself or to put himself in a bad light with other teams. So the minute they put anything out there, it was probably smart for him to delete it. But everybody saw it. It's all over the place. And it's out there. But, if anybody was paying attention, even a couple of weeks ago, it's been out there that he's a Giants fan. He grew up a Giants fan. He grew up, watching Jacobs and Eli and Strahan and Umanura and all these guys. And so he's a Giants fan. So naturally, I think this is where he wants to be. Everybody knows that. But it doesn't necessarily get to happen like that, does it, gentlemen?
It doesn't, but why not get one of our own? You know what I mean?
I'm all for it.
We've wasted picks before. We've blown picks on other players that are high. Why not give one of us a shot?
Yeah, I don't think that you're blowing the pick on this kid. I think that the only question becomes, okay, so when you read about Haskins, and you don't got to take my word for it, but go do your due diligence and your research if you're listening on Dwayne Haskins. Don't listen to what anybody says. Don't listen to the comparisons about Jamarcus Russell or Byron Leftwich. Go and actually watch the film. The film is out there. It's on Twitter. You don't need to purchase the old 22s. You don't need to purchase anything else. You can go out for free and get this information and watch the kid play. And when you watch him play, if you know what you're looking at, you're going to see a kid who is light years beyond a kid that, say, should be starting 14 games. This is a kid that's been watching film since he was 8 years old. He processes things very quickly. He makes adjustments to the defense very quickly. I'd say he's close, right? I think that, but anytime you got a kid that's 14 starts in, and you're going to draft him, it's more for, when I look at Haskins, I look at, and I say, okay, where would he be next year? Right? Like, because my thing is, I don't think the Giants roster is ready to compete and win a Super Bowl this year. I think if you take Haskins, you're taking him for, much like a Darnold or a Rosen would have been last year, the long-term plan, the best interest of your franchise years down the line. And I think that we were arguing back and forth whether you play him or you don't play him. I don't think that matters whatsoever when it comes to taking him. I think you take him because you see the potential he can be. You're not looking at this in a snapshot. You're looking at the growth that can come from the player. So we can argue all day whether he starts day one or he doesn't, if they bring in a vet from the groom room or they do not. But you're taking him in the first round, and he's a first-round pick, more for what you see him becoming than what he is right now, which is a guy that started 14 games and has a shit ton of potential.
Justin, what do you say, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the majority of what James said there, which is going to be shocking to the people listening as well as the people that were part of our the people that were part of our pre-show chat. I agree with about 90% of what he said. Where I differ a little bit is in the idea that you take him without really being overly concerned about the plan. Let's be clear. If they take him, they will have a plan. That plan is going to be one of three scenarios. It's either going to be he starts from the beginning, and they're okay with that. Eli's the mentor on a restructured contract, or if Eli doesn't want to be the mentor, which is a possibility, then you bring in another quarterback to be the mentor to get him ready if you don't think he can play next year. And I agree with you. If you have conviction on Haskins, and Gettleman has proven one thing over the past two drafts that he's watched over, if he has conviction on a player, he's going to do what he needs to do to take him. He took Saquon at 2, and the year before that, he took McCaffrey at 8. And in both scenarios, those picks were looked at as picks that had some pushback, let's put it that way. But he's not worried about that. He's going to make the pick if he believes that the player has conviction. He has conviction on the player. Now, he's also going to look at the tape and have a plan as the GM for what he wants to do. And it is his responsibility at the same time to make sure that the people within the organization and the other players are in on that plan. And if Eli doesn't want to be that guy, then you're not going to force him to be that guy, because that is a problem. But the organization knows what to do if they need to bring in a mentor. They did the same thing with Kerry Collins and Kurt Warner. You think
anybody else getting sick of Eli fucking Manning? I said it. Like, is anybody else getting sick of this whole thing? Like anybody else just, is it working out? Is it giving you agita yet? I mean, go back and take a look at this thing over the course of the last couple of years. And if you want to get technical and you want to think back to what happened. And again, greatest quarterback in the history of the franchise. You can give me that all you want, because what I'm saying is true. So it's how you interpret it, right? So coming out of the draft, you're looking at a player. How many players since Eli Manning have manipulated the draft and do what he did the year he came out?
Not that many.
No.
Haskins could do it.
How many before him?
There's a few.
Elway.
Here's the thing.
Right.
All right?
And over the last couple of years, has he not been playing the woe is me card? And the pitchers on the field before the game ended, it's sort of like he was saying, "Oh, Giants, I'm holding you against the fire. Look at me and my kids. I'm ready to walk away." And then walking into Gettleman's office. And if you're right, Justin, about the things you were saying on there, if he went in and said that to Gettleman and he put that in front of him and he said, "Hey, if I'm not in your plans, draft me." Well, what if you're in my plans that I feel like I'm going to compete, but I'm going to go ahead and take this kid for the future because you're 38 years old?
Well, the thing is, listen, here's the thing, and I agree with you. With you. I think the difference is, this is what I think the difference is. I think that if you sat down and asked Eli Manning, like if you injected him with truth serum and you said, "What's the problem?" I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that Eli Manning thinks that he wasn't the problem. That
I would agree with that, yes.
A combination of shoddy offensive line play, wide receivers running the wrong route, wide receivers, missing blocks, running backs missing blocks, all those things led to him being in scenarios that were not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference between what Eli believes and what we believe is that it's the responsibility of the quarterback to make everyone around him better and to step up in the pocket, literally, and make a play when there's not a play to be made.
You see, I don't necessarily disagree with Eli if that's his sentiment. Right? I mean, the thing about this scenario is there's a lot of arms and legs to it. All right, and one question or answer leads you down another path. Like, I could agree with Eli to the point where, do I think that if he's in a perfect scenario, the perfect scenario roster-wise, that he can still compete and win in this league? Probably. Right? If you got a chance to pick out the perfect situation to put him in, and you put him in it with a solid defense and a solid running game and a good offensive line, and he was expected to just do what he needs to do, I think he could do that effectively. The question comes is, in your window, Eli, which is probably a year to 2 years, right? Can this roster win with you making what you're making and playing how you're playing it? Like, even if we give you a pay cut and we could bring in other pieces to this roster, is the roster still good enough to get us to the Super Bowl? I don't know that it is. So the fact that this is a very gray, this isn't black and white. This one thing leads to the next that leads to the next. This is a very difficult situation, and they've put themselves in it by not addressing it last year. And now we're in because even last year, if you told me that they would have taken one of the quarterbacks or traded back and taken one of the quarterbacks, and that quarterback would have sat this year, if that's the card that Eli wants to play at the end of this season, fine. We're prepared to turn the page. Now we're in a predicament. And there's no guarantee, for as much as we're sitting here, that somebody isn't going to jump over us or fall in love with Haskins and make a move to go get him. That's not a guarantee that can't happen. So this is a very dangerous situation right now that we are in as a franchise, and there's no easy course out of it. It's a clusterfuck.
Uh-oh, here we go. Breaking news. One minute ago, from Bleacher Report, Oakland A's expect Kyler Murray to declare for the NFL draft.
Wow.
Look at that.
Oh, my God. You know what? God bless that kid. I think that, we sit here and talk all day long. I think that's the wrong decision. But, hey. God bless. I guess he could take a shot at football and always go to baseball, right? I mean, maybe that's his thinking.
Yeah, maybe.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing on Kyler.
Oh man.
Here's the thing on Kyler Murray. I can tell you exactly what Kyler Murray is thinking.
He wants to go to Denver?
Kyler Murray is thinking about. He's looking at Dennis Haskins, right? And he's looking at the fact that in this draft, Dennis Haskins is really
Dwayne
the
Haskins.
only flavor. Dwayne Haskins, I'm sorry. Did I say?
Just
I
call
was
him
thinking
Simba.
about Mr. Belding. I was thinking about Mr. Belding. Dwayne Haskins. He's the only flavor at the top of the draft. He's the only one. So,
But is Kyler Murray a top 10 pick in the NFL draft?
we can. So that's a difficult question, right? Because there's two ways to look at it. There is, would we invest a top 10 pick in him, or would any player
Other
that's not a GM
invest. Now let me ask you this: let's say can he see where he's drafted, and then back out and go play baseball? So like, let's say he dropped to the second or third round.
Yeah,
That's a pretty hefty price differential. Can he at that, like, what's the risk in drafting him?
So
Like,
here's
at
what
what
he can
point,
do.
like, you own his rights, but can he turn around and be like, no, you know what, I want to go play baseball?
yeah,
Like,
I
if he
can't.
doesn't sign a contract, if he doesn't sign a contract after the draft, like, you own his rights, but you don't have him locked up. So
We have the book
potentially
on it.
he has to what?
Take a look at. We have the book on it. Remember Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson.
No, well,
was
that's
originally
what.
drafted-
But how is it with the draft though? Has anything changed? Like, if he gets drafted, like, can he basically just say, like, hey, if I'm not drafted in the first round, like, I may go play baseball
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think
and just not play instead of playing
But-
both, like, just not
That's
play
what
in one.
I think
That's what I'm saying. If an NFL team takes him, and he for whatever reason says,
not.
I don't like where I ended up, I don't like where I was picked, I'm not going to sign. If he sits out the whole year, he goes back into the draft pool.
Yeah, I think the only.
This is not.
I think the only problem
This is not
he
baseball.
doesn't go back to. He
You
doesn't
have
go.
the rights continuous.
You got to be really convinced, and he really has to sell you in those meetings at the combine and all that stuff for you to
100%.
invest in that, right? I mean, that's a huge. Knowing that baseball is such a lure. Oh, that's a tough situation for you. Really got to be convinced that he's in it for the long haul. If you're going to
100%.
spend a top first, even second round pick on him.
Durant on YouTube.
A third round pick.
Durant on YouTube.
Yeah, even
Go
that,
ahead.
Justin.
He said, "Didn't Elway threaten to play for the Yankees when Indy
Yeah.
draft him?"
Yeah, Elway threatened if he was going to get drafted by Baltimore, was it at the time?
Right.
But that's why I said, who did it after Eli? Nobody that I could remember manipulated it like that. And beforehand, the only one that I could think of is John Elway. And Elway did it. I don't know if Elway did it between two football teams. I think Elway did it between the sports where, hey, if you draft me, I'm going to go play baseball. And then there was the trade worked out, I believe, where he ended up in Denver.
You can only manipulate the draft if you have the leverage to do it, right? So
Yeah, but that doesn't make it. Isn't that a bad look, though, to get off with, Justin? I mean, shouldn't you be, as a rookie, just thrilled for anyone to take you?
right, no, I agree with you. But let's also be real. Like we have a different perspective on it than these guys that have options.
Yeah, but the only one that seems to have a different perspective on it had the last name Manning.
Right, but
It seems like
leverage-
everyone
still
else
has
seems to
leverage,
have
but
the
the
same
leverage that he has
perspective
is
on it
different.
until Eli's dad came out and tried to manipulate things.
Right. John Elway had baseball. Kyler Murray is going to have baseball as their leverage. Eli Manning had the Manning name. He had
Yes.
an older brother, and he had Archie Manning. And that was enough for the league to sort of say, hey, we need to, what can we do to make this right? Because remember, the trade that went down to get Eli Manning, by the letter of the NFL rule, is illegal. You're not allowed to draft a player and immediately trade his rights. It's written in the rule book that is not permitted.
Archie strikes again.
The NFL knew that the Mannings were the first family, and they knew that if they didn't make this right, that there was going to be a problem. And Ernie Accorsi had the stones to wait it out, knowing that eventually something would happen.
And tip of the cap to him. That's bold.
Ernie Accorsi also knew that the desire was there to make it so that he didn't have to give up Osi Umenyiora to get Eli Manning.
Yeah, but that's sort of, and that's great as a Giant fan, right? And that's great as a Giants fan. But the flip side of the coin is, wow, man, like we couldn't even get full value back because this guy basically just came out, cried, and said he didn't want to play for us. Like it completely took anything, like the Chargers at that point, once they took him, they were up shit's creek without a paddle.
Right.
And it just got to the point where the longest they could wait where the Giants were on the board, or there was no other team that might have been able to make that deal or wanted to make that deal. So you can ask for OC all you want, and if the Giants keep saying no and you get to the point where they're on the clock and the Giants are either going to take Rivers or Roethlisberger, I mean, you're sort of stuck. And Eli put the Chargers in that position. Now, at the time, we were thrilled about it, but now, all these years later, when certain things start happening, you start to get the feeling that somebody thinks he's privileged.
I think Tim is on. Let's see.
And that's not me making anything up. I mean, go look at what's been going on here for the last 2 or 3 years and tell me just if it was anybody else with the last name not Manning, what would be your impression of how things are going on in this franchise? I mean, guys, am I making it up? Do you not get the feeling that he gets this feeling of entitlement, especially if Justin, what you said was true?
And that's how I got there. Because is Tim on?
No, I didn't get the call yet. I don't know if it's him.
What I was going to say is that's how I got there. I just connected the dots. I started thinking, if the story is that Eli requested that conversation, why does Eli go in and request that conversation? He requests that conversation because he wants assurances. He wants to know that the general manager and the team doesn't blame him for a disappointing season. But you can't really, think about, you're not going to go into your boss and ask him if you suck, right? You're going to have a little bit more tact than that. So if you're Eli Manning, the question that you ask, what's your plan for the future? Am I here or am I not?
Right.
And when Gettleman says, well, I don't know, I need to review things, and I need to see what is there in the draft, and we're at the point now.
Eli, I haven't even turned on my Wii yet. I got to watch the film.
Right. Exactly. I have to watch the film. I have to watch the film until my eyes bleed. And then I also have to take advantage of the opportunity now to take a quarterback. Because we took a running back and we invested in a top-notch wide receiver that I don't want to trade. And I have to put them around a quarterback that can make plays for them long-term, and you're not it. So if the opportunity comes around for us to invest and improve at the quarterback position, we're going to take it. And I guarantee Eli Manning, because of who he is and the ego that he has, said, the only thing that I can ask you is that if I'm not in your plans after the draft, because keep in mind, the draft is after free agency, then I would kindly request that you trade me. And that is why Dave Gettleman called Eli Manning a menace. You get
but
Eli
what's
Manning
the
went
day?
there.
But there is a day that he's owed a roster bonus of like $5 million or something like that. Can we look up and see what that day is? Because if that day is before I don't know what with the league new year or what their contracts could say.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I think I heard June. And if it's June, then fine. But if it's not June, and that roster bonus comes somewhere prior to the draft, then does that push anyone's hand? Because if you don't
First
know
of all,
what,
if
then
the
you
Giants
got
did that,
if you know, like, yeah, but Justin, like, this is such a complicated decision because, like, you would, like, if you don't address the quarterback in free agency, if you're going to address it via the draft, right? What if you don't get the quarterback?
Well, so that's
what if they make every move to get the quarterback and don't get the quarterback?
That's the scary thing, right? So I was thinking about that scenario too, and I honestly coupled that with something that Marco said, and that was, is there any way that we can package picks to get back into the back half of the first round? Because and this could happen. I'm with you 100%. We don't know where Dwayne Haskins is going to go. There could be a surprise team. Remember, when the Eagles took Foles, nobody thought they were going to trade up from 13-2 to take Foles, or Wentz. They took Wentz because they had conviction on him, and they were willing to trade up to make it happen. So that could happen with any team that is in the middle part of this draft. And if that happens, then that team's not going to listen to us when we call the trade up. So at that point, I think the more likely scenario is that I think that's exactly why Giant scouts are at the Senior Bowl. I think the more likely scenario at that point is you take the best player available at 6, whoever that is, right? Whether that's the tackle from Alabama, if Ed Oliver falls, whoever it is there at 6, right? And then you take those 11 picks over the draft and you package 2 or 3 of them to move back up into the first round, and then take your quarterback, whether that's Jones from Duke or Locke from Missouri or something, or you know, if you have a conversation with Kyler Murray and you think he could pick football, even though I think Kyler Murray gets broken in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right, let's
You know what I mean? Like
let's get to this call. Let's see who it is. It's a familiar number, so it might be fun. 917, are you there? What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
What else? What's your name?
My name is Lewis. I'm calling from Syracuse.
What's up, Lewis? What do you want to talk about, Lewis?
Nothing much, man. Well, this might be a little bit off topic, but I kind of want to talk about Dave Gettleman a little bit here.
It's on topic. It's on topic.
Grandpa Gettleman.
Yes, I want to talk about Grandpa.
Go ahead, talk to us about Grandpa.
So, Gettleman said something in the press conference that really, really scared me. I think I forgot what the reporter asked, but I remember what Dave said. I just forgot what the reporter said. So Dave said something about the Giants scoring 40 points. You know, the Giants scoring 35 points. The Giants scoring 30 points. You know, and that line, I forgot what the reporter asked, but that line in particular really scared me because some of those games, it was kind of like games that we should have won. You know what I mean? Like those games, like like when we scored 40 against, for example, against the Redskins, I wasn't, when your GM says that it was a success to score 40 points against, a dead Redskins team, I mean, I kind of find that a little bit scary.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but like.
No, I totally agree, because it's I agree with you, and it was one of the things that I took away from the press conference as well. It was the fact that you hope that he's bullshitting, that he's not making, like, the fact that you went, like, you started 1-7, that doesn't go away. You played horribly during the first 8 games of the season. That doesn't go away. You don't get to come out and say we played well in the second half of the season because we beat 4 backup quarterbacks and we lost the last 3 games of the season. We got shut out at home because it was raining. Like, that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse for your quarterback to play bad, for your offense to just not show up at home when you're telling us that you're playing with all this momentum and you're still trying to win out.
Who was the beat?
And then you go to Indianapolis, you choke down the stretch there, you lose 2 one-point games down the stretch. So, I mean, like, for him to come out and take any positives from that is troubling.
Who was the beat writer?
And I know exactly what you're talking about.
Who was the beat writer that said, like, he does a good job of answering a question to where you both sides still see what he's saying? Come away with, like, oh, he's definitely taking quarterback. Oh, he's definitely not taking a quarterback. Like, he has
I think it was like Renan.
It might have been Renan.
Yeah, he has a way of answering questions where you're like, definitely defensive line. No, definitely quarterback.
Well, I told when we did the show after the press conference, it was like, I literally, at one point during the press conference, I was watching it and I started, like, shaking my phone. I thought I was saying things. It's like he's answering a question and it's a tough question, and Gary Myers must have stood up or came walking in the room and he stops answering the question. He's like, hey, it's like he's at a social club.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's playing canasta, and there's other people coming and walking in. Hey, what's going on? He's telling a story. He's stopping. He's talking to him. Like, I get the feeling that I'm being bullshitted when I listen to Gettleman.
But isn't that what my question to you there? And what I want to say, first of all, to address the caller's original point, the part to me that's concerning about Gettleman saying that we scored all those points is if you look at the games that he's talking about, each one of the games that he's talking about where we scored a lot of points, we either had a defensive touchdown or we had a defensive turnover in the other team's red zone. So, and those are things that you cannot count on from a game-to-game basis. So if they contribute to your total points scored, for you to say the offense is fine because they're scoring points, a twisted way to think about things in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know what my follow-up would have been? Do you know what my follow-up would have been? I would have asked him, since you want to talk about things like that, Dave, I have to ask this follow-up. So if you take things like that into consideration for next season, then do you take the stat that is basically that Eli threw, 14 interceptions this year, right? Which is a pretty good number, or whatever the number is. Do you take into consideration, Dave, the actual number, which when studied by analysts, is that he was basically would have been responsible for, he put the ball in jeopardy 25 times this season, and that there were 10 opportunities that were left on the table by defenses where he put the ball directly in their hands? Do you take that stat into consideration, Dave?
Defensive drops?
Yeah.
I'm sure that they do.
And when people say he's graded bad and they look at his final numbers, like, that's the stuff that they grade on. They watch every throw. Like, that doesn't get graded as an incompletion. Those get graded as turnovers. Like, when you're grading a quarterback and he throws the ball and it bounces and the defender jumps the route because he's staring him down and the ball bounces off the defense. When you're grading the quarterback, that's graded as an interception. When you grade the defensive back, that's graded as a dropped interception. But when you're grading the quarterback, that doesn't get graded as an incomplete pass, like he threw it away. Throwing it away gets graded to the point where it's looked at with a positive grade because you made a decision that you didn't put the ball in jeopardy. So that's not going to be a negative grade, like a bad read or putting the ball in jeopardy would.
All right, let's
go. You
go.
have to look at, when they look at the grading of the quarterbacks, that's important.
All right, let's go to the next caller. Ready?
Say,
Hold on. Let's see what.
okay.
What he's on 513. Hold your thought. What's up, caller?
Hey guys, how are you?
What's your name?
Hey, my name is Richard. I am from Ohio.
Hey, Richie from.
Hey, what's up, Richard? Congratulations with the Buckeyes Rose Bowl victory. What do you think of Dwayne Haskins?
Yeah, man. Hey, we wanted to go to a national championship, but we ended up coming sixth place. But we'll take it.
How do you feel about? I am of the mindset where I'm glad they went to 4 teams, but honestly, how great would it have been if it was an 8-team playoff?
Listen, I would have loved it.
Right?
I think the first 2 teams they could have a bye, and that would have worked. And then
you could do that too.
6. Yeah, the other 6 should have competed. Yeah,
I think eventually it's going to happen.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I was listening today. I heard I heard today they said that there was a couple of teams, I guess, that I guess Georgia was one of them, where they were expecting to play. There was a couple of teams that had the aspirations of playing in the Final Four, and when they're saying that the bowl games now are a little lesser than what they used to be because those teams that are gung ho all season trying to get to that Final Four and win a national championship. The teams that fall off and end up not getting there and in one of those other ball games, like there was a team that benched like 7 guys this year, rested 7 guys in the ball game. They didn't even try to win it.
Michigan. It was Michigan.
Right? Isn't that's it? So so I think you have to do something so that doesn't come into play. But sorry to take away your time. Go ahead. What was what's your giant point?
Hey, my giant point is this. I think last year the Maras went to Getterman and Sherman. And they told them, hey, you're going to have Eli as your quarterback, whether you like it or not. When you see the backups, they didn't bring any competition for Eli. Taney is not. He's a journeyman at best.
Yep.
And they drafted Loretta in the 4th round. I mean, if they liked Loretta, I mean, they could have got him on the 3rd round or, something like that. So I think Mara actually told Sherman and Getterman that this is what you're getting. That's why Sherman and Getterman had a press conference saying Eli has 4 years left. We all knew he didn't have that much left. Case in point, now when you go to Haskins, I've watched all his games. I've been to a couple of games. Mm-hmm. The guy is the real deal. He can make all the throws. I've seen it. One of my friends actually went to one of his practices, and he was marveled at what he can do. My thing is, the Giants will be too scared to move up to get him. And who's to say that they might even end up getting him? Because I'm scared probably Jacksonville might even go up to number 2 to even pick him up. So, and my question is, what do you think the Giants can do to get this kid? Because for me, if they can bring Eli back, I really don't care what pay cut or whatever the case may be, bring him back. And I think Haskins is going to start maybe with 4, because guess what? Anytime Eli throws an interception, the fans are going to clamor for Haskins to get into the game. So my question is, what can the Giants do to get Haskins, and what do you guys think of Haskins so far? Because I think to me, I've seen him play. This kid has it all, and he even came out with that Photoshop saying he wanted to be a Giant.
Yeah, I did. I'm so happy. I reached out to a guy I know on Twitter, or a guy that we're in contact with on Twitter, in early December, because I just from watching and looking at things, clearly I had Herbert and Haskins as the top QBs on my board. So I reached out.
I'm sorry, not to cut you off. Did you see Herbert in Michigan? The guy put up 7 points against a Big Ten defense. When you look at these, and I'm glad he went back to school, because to me he would have been a bust. That's just me.
Yeah. I think that they look at. I think that they look at his size. They're going to look at his tools. I think if he would have came out, he would have definitely went in the 1st round, and I think they would have.
True.
The Michigan game, they would have swept it under the 1st round. Somebody would have. It would have been him and Haskins. I watched I requested all of their film. This is before the Rose Bowl, and when I watched all of their film, I expected to come out of there thinking that Herbert was my number 1 quarterback. And by the time I watched everything, I had Haskins over Herbert before Herbert decided to go back to school. So I am sold on Dwayne Haskins. Now, I think the question becomes, the Giants have 11 picks in the draft. So if you're going to tell me that they have plenty of ammo to go get them, right? Mm-hmm. So if there was a year, they're in better position to move up in the draft than any other team because they have 11 picks. So the question is very simple, is how sold are they on Dwayne Haskins? And if they are sold on Dwayne Haskins, then you would have to think that as this process plays out and he becomes a hot commodity and starts visiting with other teams and starts showing these other teams in person how good he is on a board and how good he is at watching film at his age with such limited experience, I think teams are going to start getting very hot for this kid, with the quarterback being a priority for everyone. And I think somebody is going to move up. And I think the Giants are in position to do so and strike while the iron's hot. The question is Gettleman sold on Haskins? And then the question becomes, what do you do with Eli? What do you do with Eli?
Bring him back.
Do you put? But here's the thing about bringing Eli back. And the more I think about this, like I said before, these things, it's evolving. Because with every time you answer a question, here's another question. And I'm glad you called in, because you made me think of something that I have not thought of yet. And I'm disappointed in myself that I haven't thought about this, because I've said the same thing that you said, was restructure Eli, bring him back, and have him groom Haskins. And I got lit up, Justin, right, in the room, because you guys were telling me if you draft Haskins, let him play. And after what you just said, sir, let me tell you something. I'm leaning towards going with what Justin and Tim were saying in the chat room, that if you draft Haskins, let him play. Because if you were to bring Eli back and he struggles, it is going to get nasty.
Exactly. Ryan Day, like I said, one of my friends went to one of the practices. And Ryan Day was hard on Haskins. He kept telling him, you watch your feet. You got to make this play. Just settle down. Just stop putting all pressure on your back foot. Just drive the ball. See it and throw it. Trust in it. That's why he keeps preaching to Haskins. One of those games.
It's funny you said that about Day. He recently tweeted today. Yeah. I think he retweeted Day and quoted him and really gave him a ton of credit for how far he's come in such a short period of time. So that's good shit.
After that Penn State game, he said to Ryan Day that that's when he grew up, because that game actually put him out there in my eyes, because he struggled in the first half, and you can see that he was struggling. But in the second half, everything changed, because in the locker room, he went to Day and said that, hey, give me this. I can do it. And he came up and did whatever he could to rally the team. And I'm telling you this, if it wasn't Haskins, Ohio State would have lost 4 games. At least 4 games, because the defense was atrocious at best. Shiano's not there anymore, because they didn't want him back. So I think, to me, if Haskins is drafted, put him in. Because to me, it's more like you saw what Donald did. You saw Josh Rosen. And you saw these other quarterbacks. And to me, if he was to be in last year's draft, it would have been between him, in my opinion, between him and Sam Darnold. Because to me, when you look at Trubisky how many games? I think 13 games before he came out of NC.
Yeah, I would have had Haskins above Trubisky. Haskins is a much better thrower of the ball.
He's light years ahead of Trubisky.
Yeah,
exactly.
He is right now he's light years ahead of Trubisky, I think.
Exactly. So to me, if you draft the kid, it would be better to put him in right away. And I bet you this team is going to go to the playoffs and get him in. And I know he's not going to do this, because he screwed up the free agency anyway. So there's there's nothing that shows that he's actually going to go ahead and actually pull this plug and draft this kid. But to me, I've seen this guy play. I've watched him play, and I think he's a real deal. In my opinion.
Here's the thing, and this is why in the chat I was interested in entertaining the thought of playing Haskins right away. For me, it's simple. I look at I look at the last time that we had to do this with Eli Manning. If you remember, right, Warner started off hot, right?
Yep.
He won a few games early. I think we started at like 3-1.
They were 5-4 when they went to Eli. They were 5-2. They lost 2 in a row. They struggled or some shit like that, and then they went to Eli. Yeah, you're right.
They were 5-4. Eli lost a bunch of games, but if you remember, Eli went through those growing pains, and by the end of the season, we played a game against the Cowboys. It was either week 16 or week 17.
It was the last game of the season.
It was week 17.
And he led a game-winning drive. They walked off and won. Tiki ran it in.
Right. That was our 6th win. But by the end of the season, playing 9 games, we knew Eli was ready to go next season. They jettisoned Kurt Warner, and they were ready to go. So if you take – I mean, let's be honest. Let's be 100% honest with ourselves. If you take Haskins, you're taking him for the future. You think that he's the best prospect. You think that he has what it takes to lead this team beyond next year.
I got an interesting tweet. I wanna go over. Finish your thought.
Okay. So I'm just gonna say why delay that process by not giving him the time to play when you know that this season is dedicated toward getting him ready for 2020 anyway? Just let the kid play.
You know what? I'm leaning towards what you're. Here's what I'm thinking now. Right? Was okay. All right. So I agree with you. If we're gonna take Haskins, because of the fact that I think next year that could get ugly if it goes the other way, because people would be screaming for Haskins. So you got to move on from Eli. But I think it would be smart if you're going to do that, then to bring in I don't necessarily mean Josh McNown, but a Josh McNown type to say, even if it's hey, how about this? Fitzpatrick, right?
So like maybe
draft
Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor. There you go. Beautiful. Somebody like that you can not necessarily, Darnold started game 1. So I'm not saying that you have to say, okay, you know what, we're going to definitely bench this kid. But to have a veteran be in that locker room with him and in that room with him studying film and competing against him and not necessarily just say, okay, we're going to usher you in day 1 is a good thing. And if he struggles out of the gate and you feel that you want to wait a couple of weeks and you got a veteran there that you could start and still feel that you could compete with and win some football games with, I think that would probably make a little more sense than saying just turning the page completely to Haskins, bringing in somebody that can maybe bridge you a couple of games if you needed to, or at least be there if something bad went down.
And that right there, that's why I say that even if that mentor doesn't start, it's important that mentor that you have in there is a guy that understands his role and is willing to shepherd the young kid. Because if you ask Sam Darnold, that's what Josh McCown did for him. So
hey, and look what happened with Darnold.
I mean, I want Eli to be that guy, but if Eli doesn't want to be that guy for whatever reason, then you bring in somebody who's willing to do that.
Yeah, Eli's not going to go gracious into that good night come week 8 if the Giants are 2-6 and step to the side.
His dad actually came out, I think, right after Getterman. And Getterman's press conference, and he said, well, he would like Getterman to actually put people around Eli, especially the offensive line, to make sure that his son is secured and protected. And I was thinking, this NFL, I don't think anybody has the best all-time offensive line. I don't think so.
No.
All these quarterbacks can escape the pocket, move. What is Mahomes? Mahomes threw for 50 touchdowns compared to Eli 21. And nowadays, these offenses is geared towards offense, quarterbacks. If a guy put up 50 touchdowns and you put up 21, there's a problem. And you can't sit there and say, oh, by the way, in the second half, Eli was good. We were 4-4. And I know the defense, yes, gave some of these games up. I get it. But we were 4-4 at best. And
the defense was also hemorrhaged by a couple of trades. They traded a couple of guys off the defense because we were told it was a fire sale at 1-7, and then you want to blame the defense down the stretch when that was the only fucking unit that you traded anybody off of.
There's a safety called Adams. Adams was in our roster, and he went to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The kid, I don't know how many receptions he had. He had like 4 or 5.
He had 3 in one game.
Curtis Riley.
Former guest of the show.
Former guest of the show.
We got
correct.
Curtis.
There is something interesting going on. Steve Palazzo from PFF says his latest tweet was, Kingsbury drafts Kyler and trades Josh Rosen to the Giants. So then I did a little background check. Texas Tech quotable. Cliff Kingsbury says not even the NFL players would be able to stop Oklahoma QB Kyler Murray. So there's a few articles him glowing about him.
I think there's a radio station. There's a WFAN in New York that they do, and there's somebody brought it up. I think they had an analyst, and he said it wouldn't shock him if Cardinals were trading Josh Rosen. It wouldn't shock him if they tried to trade him. If Kingsbury, like all of a sudden, it was like, okay, I want a new quarterback. What if I want Haskins? They can trade him because his play, actually this year, I know he's a rookie and all. I don't think a lot of people were impressed of it. So I'm just saying, and from what you just read there might be a chance where Josh Rosen might be traded. Because like what you just said with Kyler Murray, maybe Kingsbury might think he fits his scheme a lot better because he played in the Big 12 and he saw him.
Yep. And Kingsbury's one of those arrogant son of a bitches where he doesn't care. He's just going to do what he wants to do. Kingsbury he's fun. You can say what you want about Kingsbury. He is fun. He's going to be a lot of fun there for that team. Arizona's about to get it.
I don't think Rosen was that bad this year, no?
Right? He was by himself. No,
yeah,
I think
he was on an island.
I saw enough from Rosen to be happy about where the hell he was, the potential that he may have. He was running for his life, that kid, last year.
Here's the question. If you're Arizona, right? So, actually, if Arizona takes Kyler Murray, that is hugely beneficial for the Giants. Let's just play that scenario out, right?
Wow, you ain't lying. Holy shit! Can you imagine when you were saying some teams are dumb? They are dumb.
Arizona takes Kyler Murray. Let's play that one through. If they don't trade Rosen before the draft, then that brings Rosen's trade value down because teams know that they have to trade him. You get Rosen on the cheap. If you think Rosen is the guy and you're Gettleman, you could probably get him at a premium, right? Say Rosen was his top quarterback, right? Let's just say he wasn't sold on Jesus Darnold, right? Let's just say. Let's say Rosen was the top guy. And now we can get Rosen at a premium, right? So that's option A. Okay? Option B is...
I got to tell you, I think I like Haskins more than Rosen.
Okay. Well, that's fine, too. So option B is he trades Rosen to another team that would have taken Haskins.
Opening Haskins up?
Out of the hat.
Yeah.
Opening Haskins up, like Rosen to Jacksonville.
Right. Exactly. Or Rosen, let me give you another one. Rosen to the Raiders.
Rosen to the Raiders.
Rosen to the Raiders.
Then what?
That makes David Carr available.
Right.
To Jacksonville. and we still get Haskins. So having a second quarterback that could go in the top 10, no matter who he is,
having a second quarterback
helps
in the mix
Giants.
works out. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps us out.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Wow, I don't. Wow, they're gonna take that kid too. One. Holy shit.
I don't. It's just a speculation. I mean, it's a verified dude on Twitter. I'm not super aware of him. I've seen him before, but
No, I mean, who knows what happens between now and then? Like, if I'm them and that's my plan, like, I would trade out of one. Unless all these, you think there's more teams sold on this? Wow, I don't.
See, that's
quite
why,
early for that kid to go in the
that's
first.
why- no,
Jesus
listen.
Christ.
do you think
So
it's
let's-
just, do you think it's just because he reminds like the stature and the baseball, or he reminds everyone of Russell, like the comparison to Russell Williams is like paying off for him?
here's the thing, and this
Yeah,
is important.
probably a little bit.
Remember, if a team is going to spend a first, like wherever in the first round on Kyler Murray, like if that gets out and there's legs to it, then that means that team has a guarantee that he's going to come and play football. And if one team has that guarantee, they're all going to smell that out, and his value is going to go up. Because this is a copycat
Yo,
league.
but he could. But what we talked about before, like he could manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like he could very easily be like, yeah, you know what, I want to play for this team, or this team, and any other team, I'm going to play baseball.
Let's follow the money,
Right?
The contract.
Like he could totally, like you could, like if him and Kingsbury want to be dicks right now, imagine that. Like that's some shit I would try to do. Like if I'm Kingsbury right now and you really feel like that, I'd be on the phone with his agent being like, all right, listen, I need you to have him come out and say I only want to play for Cliff Kingsbury, and if anybody else, I'm going to play baseball. And when he says that, I'm going to trade back, and then I'm just going to take him wherever I could trade back to and get more picks.
31st. And
No, but here's the flip side of that.
How
And
funny about it?
this is
That's
what
fucking funny.
This is a legitimate question. If you're Kyler Murray,
mm-hmm.
aside from the fact that they have the number one pick, like, honestly, what's a more attractive situation? Do I want to go?
Well,
to
that's what I was.
Arizona
You
where
took
it's
the
fair?
words. You took the words right out of my mouth. Like what I'm saying,
Or
what
do
I
I want
just
to go
said.
play with Saquon and Odell Beckham Jr.?
Oh
Wait,
no! See, I totally disagree. I well, maybe I don't agree with you. I think more like this. Like I'm thinking, like if I'm Kyler Murray, my skill set is very dependent on a certain system,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be put in a system where they're going to try to make me do things that I'm not necessarily good at doing. I want to be with somebody who's going to use me to the best of my ability.
I have a
That's
whole.
fine.
He could very easily be a dick and try to manipulate the situation to where he wants to go, tie himself to a coach and a system.
I
Go
have a
ahead,
whole.
Marco.
I have a
I
whole
love
different. I have a whole different set of questions.
Go.
Is
This
he
is
an
fun.
is he an everyday starter in outfield on MLB team?
Not
I think he
not
has
tomorrow.
the potential to be. Not tomorrow. No, you're right, Justin. I think he has the potential to be.
It's 2 or 3 years down the road, but
So maybe
But-
I think
Yeah.
the only advantage to baseball is health.
and the guaranteed contract.
right.
Well,
but
there you go.
but if his guaranteed contract is a shitty one, and he could get drafted first round, first round, first pick, they're getting like what, 26 million probably.
Yeah, he's gonna make a pretty penny. He'll probably get a 5-year deal for around what 40 million, or 45 million.
I'll throw this question out there while we're throwing out hypotheticals, right? Is there any way that Murray leverages the draft so that he's drafted by a team that will let him go play baseball?
Yeah, definitely.
It's
Without doubt.
2019.
Yes. I think he
In
could.
1990, I don't think that an NFL team lets their quarterback go play baseball. But in 2019, where everybody gets a participation trophy and, the inmates kind of run the asylum,
He's playing both?
he could play both.
Well, what if he goes?
Absolutely.
What if during the combine or during the meetings with the teams, he makes it very clear that I plan on being a two-way athlete. I plan on playing. Right there is going to take around 20 teams off of the board,
Including the Giants.
right there. Well, I would hope so, right? I mean,
Right.
I think, I would hope that if he's in there, you could love the prospect as much as you want, but at the same token, like if there's a chance that he, climbs the wall trying to steal a home run and rips his Achilles, then what do you do next season?
Unless
the quarterback position. I mean, it's not.
Unless the Giants and the Yankees start sharing some talent.
Yeah, right. Odell and Barkley can go run routes in the outfield. And that's the other thing. Like a quarterback position in the offseason, you want them working with wide receivers and practicing the system and gathering your players to he's going to be running around center field if he wants to play both ways.
What do you think, Aaron Judge is a tight end?
I think Aaron Judge could definitely be a tight end. I'll tell you the truth. I'd rather Aaron Judge be my right tackle than Wheeler.
I was thinking about him on
Aaron Judge is
the line.
But let's be honest. Aaron Judge is 6'8", 295.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put Giancarlo at right tackle, and I'll put Judge at tight end.
Aaron, if you're listening, call in and give us your height and weight. Marco, give him the number.
Yeah, it's 516-453-9383. Aaron Judge, please call in.
What do you bench?
What do you bench? Let's see what I got. I uploaded the little bumper we got.
What's up to my boys at Bleedbigblue? Keeping you happy and satisfied. And BMF Live. All set. Hey.
And if anyone could tell me who that is, it would be hysterical, just by the voice.
I love that. That's pretty funny. Yeah, that's she's on HBO?
Hey, this is Chris Raggy from CBS2 here in New York. You are listening to the Bleed Big Blue podcast. I highly recommend it.
I got
see, that's we got. I gotta get Reasons back on. We gotta get Pepper back on.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta get them to do that stuff.
Yeah, we got. We gotta go through. We gotta go through all of it.
Joe G.
Yep. I have a bunch of people who want to come on for interviews. I just can't book it all at the same time. If you guys want to pick off some, there are a few that are a little.
Send us out. Who's waiting?
I would say less interesting, and there are a few.
I'm fully aware that we're gonna have to discuss this next topic, sort of in a cloak and dagger kind of way. Mm-hmm. But Marco, I was thinking about that event that we got invited to.
Yeah.
I mean, that event would put us on the map, right? There's going to be other Giants there. There's going to be Hall of Famers there. That could be next level.
I know. And it also could be bullshit.
Oh, do you not have it confirmed?
I'm going to email and see what's up. But I have a funny feeling it's fishy, even though it is from his official account, and I know his.
It is from his official account.
I know his wife runs his account.
Because even I was talking to my wife about, some of the perceived issues around it,
mm-hmm.
and she said to me, "Listen, if you have an opportunity to go to that, you go, and we'll figure out the rest later." So I have the complete endorsement if we can make it happen.
Having said that, I did turn down an invite from the same group, I would say, and it was legit. It wasn't from his direct account, and it was in New York. So I don't know.
That's awful.
Yeah. Pictures.
It's interesting.
Pictures with an all-time coach and everything. I saw up on the internet too.
I mean, at that event, Parcells is there, right?
I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know.
Stint is there.
I would tell you someone from New England would definitely be there. Because he was at the other.
Oh yeah, Bill is there. Well, maybe Bill's in the game too.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just interesting.
It's that Thursday.
Just things that I'm thinking about.
It's a Thursday?
It's a Thursday.
Why the fuck is it a Thursday?
See, there's some questionable things. I don't know if it's like.
Yeah, why is it a Thursday in Atlanta?
Hold on a second. I have a question that I don't know the answer to. I'll phrase it to you this way.
Oh, is that his birthday?
When is his birthday?
Oh,
yeah,
let's look
great question.
Let's look it up without saying the name of it.
Because that may be the day. Are you Justin? Are you thinking like that's the day?
Right.
That could be the only reason why you would have it on a Thursday in Atlanta, right?
The only other thing that I thought, because Marco, didn't you say it's being thrown or sponsored or it's associated with the Hall of Fame committee?
No. Whatever you saw is what I know.
Okay. Well, the other thing that I thought is that if his birthday's not the 31st, for some reason they're having it during Super Bowl week.
His birthday is...
Maybe they want to get out.
It checks out. His birthday is February 4th, and he's 59 years old.
Yeah, so that how old is he?
This would be his 60th birthday.
59. It's his 60th birthday.
So that's the thing. They didn't want to have his birthday party that close to the Super Bowl.
Here's the other thing, right? Here's the other thing. The Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before the Super Bowl, there's all festivities.
Right. And you know that guy is going to go. We love that guy, but he's going to go participate in the festivities.
Yes. Yes, so that's probably answers our question to why it's at Thursdays, because there's probably events in Atlanta for the other people that are going to be there and everything like that on the Friday night and the Saturday.
Right.
Leading up
and
to the
so
Super Bowl.
Everybody that he would want there is going to be available on Thursday.
On Thursday night.
Including the guys from Bleedbigblue.
Can you imagine?
I would gladly, if I can make it, and you guys, go.
Dude, I'm willing to fly down, go to the party, and then go right back to the airport and get on a fucking plane and come back.
Right. It's only like a 3-hour flight, right? I googled player.
Right.
I googled player name and birthday party, and nothing came up. It is supposed to be a surprise.
Okay.
So
that's fine.
My phone died.
So this is what,
you can see the original message.
Well, here's the other thing. If the flight is $97, right, and we wanted to go down and say, okay, we're going to pull an all-nighter, and we're going to fly down on Thursday. We're going to fly down. We take off Thursday, Friday, right, and we fly down Thursday morning. Right, we hang out in Atlanta, we get something to eat, we hang out, we go, we see if this thing's legit. If it is, we have a blast, we have a good time, then we go, we take an Uber back to the airport, we fly back in the morning on the next day, we fly back, we're home, we pull an all-nighter, good time, hilarious story, regardless of it's a party. Because if not, if there's no party there, then we just go to Magic City.
Right. We would make a party.
This is my offer. This is my offer 100%. All right? Jimmy, I mean, we're in the same zip code. We could fly on the same flight.
Yes.
You could take full advantage of the Phi Beta Handicapus perks, and we could get you on board and make it happen. Marco, I think the key is if you could somehow drive down, I think the three of us that are in the northern the northeastern hemisphere, you know, we fly down together out of Philly, and Tim boards the puppy and drives down from North Carolina, and we have our reunion.
A reunion?
Would that not be hilarious?
It would just be Union.
Right.
Would that not be hilarious? We pull an all-nighter. We just get an Uber. We get there. We get an Uber. We just chip. We go. We get something to eat. The only thing that would be expensive is the flight. You're looking at $100, $120. We go. We get on the flight. We go. We pull an all-nighter. We come back.
That's the other thing that I'm definitely
because the rooms are going to be ridiculous, and we don't have tickets for the game.
Right. If we leave on Thursday,
and to be honest with you, I'd much rather watch the game from my bedroom.
If we left on Thursday, the flight down is $97. If we came back Friday, I'm certain that we get it at a
similar price. Yeah,
right.
I agree.
So you're looking at $200.
The other thing
that's the answer.
The other thing I just thought of.
We don't have to rent a car.
Right. What if they're like, yeah, you definitely invited. We want you there. It's totally legit. And they're like, well, the table entrance fee to this or the table fee is going to be like, you know, something ridiculous. Or like a door, like.
Well, then we just go to Magic City.
We just go.
So, but if we're not, hold on. I'm okay with that, and here's why. Because if we're not booking a hotel room, then I earmark what would have been one night in a hotel towards whatever the table.
Magic City. Oh,
Magic
right.
City.
Yeah, that too.
Right.
What's it? Well, can we reply to the email and say, all right, well, like, what's the catch?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. We're like, you guys have any details? What if I had a small crew coming, or something like that?
Have we mentioned the player that this is for while we've gone on and talked about it? The people are probably wondering who the fuck's birthday party it is.
No, we haven't.
Well,
let's not. We gave enough clues.
If they've been paying attention, they know who it is.
Yeah, we gave enough clues. Really. We gave a birthday. We gave coaches.
Yeah.
We gave a time. Yeah, we're good.
Is coming. Belichick is coming.
We gave him.
Yeah, you figure it out.
Sponsored by the Hall of Fame.
We gave him.
Figure it out.
We gave
Why
him.
Are you listening to the show?
Yeah, we gave him.
Seriously, you're right. Good call.
We gave him 56 reasons they could figure it out. So.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's what I'll do tomorrow. That's on the agenda. I'll put the raggy.
Yeah, because if we get confirmation that that's legit, like if we get confirmation that that's legit, then I need to put in 2 PTO days, just immediately.
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 Like if you.
I have a thing.
I may go put them in. I may go put them in tomorrow. I'm going to go put them in tomorrow as soon as I get in. I'm going to take the days and tell them I need the 2 days off. And then if we don't do this, I'll just tell them I can come in.
Right. That's
the way to play it. That's the answer. I think we have, and I'm even going to tell my boss, like, hey, dude, like, it's his birthday party. Like, I'm sorry.
I can't believe my life.
Sorry, not sorry.
I don't usually request PTO, but in this case, I'm telling you that I'm taking it.
Yeah, sort of like when we first met, Justin, and I told him in the interview, I was like, yeah, well, listen, I'm going to need a couple of days off during training.
And look at the stories.
I have a prior commitment.
And you know what? You know what's funny about that? Is when that happened, like James told the group that he had a prior commitment before he said what the prior commitment was. And when he said what the prior commitment was
to the group,
I fell in love with him immediately. I was like, this is my guy.
How did he break the commitment to you?
No, I don't even know how it came up. I think
I was like, I do a little, side gig for Bleed Big Blue, and we're throwing like a viewing party. I think I might have told Justin to the side. I was like, listen, I didn't tell him we were having a competition for Mrs. Bleed Big Blue. I told Justin that to the side, but they just, as far as they knew, is we were throwing like a big viewing party, and it was something that was set up and all that stuff that we couldn't get out of.
Whatever happened to the winner?
And she is, she's on like Instagram and stuff. I don't know what she's doing. I haven't spoken to her since that night.
Didn't somebody that was there, and I wasn't there, but if I'm remembering correctly, filling some gaps off air, gentlemen, but wasn't I told that one of the women there got impregnated by a former Giants defensive back?
Yeah, they're currently married.
Oh, they are?
Okay. Together, yes. She
okay, they're still together.
She was a no-show. Similar to myself, but she was a no-show.
Who was it? Which one?
No, I didn't show. No.
I had all the ladies to myself.
When James gave that reason, right? When that became knowledge that I had obtained, there was like a 15-second period where I was like, is this real? And I immediately went on his Facebook, and he had that he was a party planner for Bleedbigblue, and I was like,
remember that, Marco?
It's legitimate.
Remember that? I was trying to work it up. I was like party planner for Bleedbigblue.
Yeah, I
think it still may say that.
I got a call. I think
honestly, it still may say that. Like I don't have my legit employer on Facebook. Like nobody knows what I do or who I work for. Like my employer, if you look on Facebook, is Bleed Big Blue.
Right.
Hysterical.
So that's how committed I am.
Which means that people think we make a lot more money on this podcast than we actually do.
There was almost we've had a deep history, Marco and I. I almost was lured away by another site. They tried to like entice me with all these things, and then they tried to edit my work, and I was like, "Fuck you! I'm going to Marco, and I'm never leaving." I was like, Marco lets me curse. I was like, I love it. I can write what I want to write, how I want to write it. Leave me alone.
I got a call. I think James put like me down as a reference on like a job application.
Oh, I did. I definitely did.
And I got.
Was it for the job that we had?
I don't.
Quite possibly. Yeah, it might have been, Justin.
And the guy like I had a call because it was so damn interesting. I was like, oh my god. I was like, yeah.
That's right.
That's spectacular.
Excellent. It was pretty funny.
Marco, you got me the job, so we're how about
there you
that?
There you go.
Good time.
I think it was like a personal reference or something like that.
Yeah, no. And he hold.
So if we did this, right? If this comes to play, we could probably do our first live show.
Yeah.
We could do like from the airport.
Right. Live from
from the video airport. From the Uber. What's up, fuckers? We're in the Uber. We're headed there.
Yeah, I got my phone.
Like just little clips of the entire trip.
Oh my god, you guys are getting me pumped for it.
Justin and I in the car riding down, big coffees. All right, we're in the car. We're heading to meet Marco in Philly.
See the way
with you guys along the way.
See the way I think.
No, Marco. What I'm saying to you is, if this happens, you should drive down to my house. You could park your car in my condo parking lot. We drive down together.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
I could even have. I could convince the wife to drive us down so that we could avoid long-term parking. She could drive us down and pick us up.
Wow.
Look at your methods.
You're so enticing, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, anything that we could do to keep costs down to make this more likely, I'm in to do.
I like the idea of the all-nighter. I think that plays into it. I think if we're going to do the video, if we're going to do little videos along part of it, the fact that it would be an all-nighter, like the 3 o'clock in the morning video would just be like hysterical. And
we make it you know what we do?
We're on our way back to the airport to catch our 8 a.m. flight. I can't see so good.
We make it a true Instagram story.
110%.
One video every hour.
Mm-hmm.
Just you guys trying to give an update, and it's me bombed in back of you guys just screaming, I want to go to Magic City.
In Magic City. Oh, God.
We're there, James.
Guest of honor's in the car with us, chewing glass.
Oh, can you imagine? Well, that's the thing. Can you imagine the videos we would get in there?
Oh, right. My God.
That's the thing. I think, like, the way that could put us on the radar with other people that are tied into him,
mm-hmm.
If it's true.
And there seemed a lot of people outside of the Giants, out of the Giants family were there. There seemed to be a lot of outside players as well from that era. From that era.
Huh.
Hey,
like Joe
you know what
Montana?
else might happen? I'm just throwing it out there. Does Carl Banks show up?
Oh, and if he does, do I fight him?
Face to face.
I don't know.
Well, I bet you, Carl. That would be the shortest fight ever. Carl Banks would fuck me up. I'd be like, Carl, I'm Captain Negative. He'd be like, clock me, fucking right down for the count. Carl's probably definitely going to be there because all those guys, Carl does the play-by-play for the Giants. All those guys go to like Radio Row for like that whole week leading up to the Super Bowl.
You think? I'm just going to throw another name out there. Do you think there's
Sims.
any possibility that
Sims?
Papa might be there?
Sims.
If you saw Sims, I would definitely want to record that moment.
You would want to see me cry?
Put it on.
Put it on. I think I have an in to get Phil in on the show. And
get the fuck out of here.
And it happened.
Don't do it.
And it happened.
Don't you make me cry.
It happened with the interview yesterday, and I'm going to propose it to him.
Oh, God, please. Oh, that's CBS.
And they go, they go way back. They live in neighboring towns. So I think...
Of course they do.
Oh, Marco, use that, please. Marco, let me tell you something. I think that, you know the video, did you ever see the gif of the guy that's sitting like at the office table and like something is said and he just stands up and he walks right towards the window, he opens it and he just jumps right out of it? Have you seen that?
Right, yeah.
Right? It's one of the best gifs. The guys are all in suits, they're sitting around the conference table, somebody says something, he gets up, walks right over, jumps out. That's exactly what I would do when the Sims interview ended because life doesn't get better than that.
That's when Jimmy changes his Facebook employment from Bleedbigblue party planner to Phil Sims interviewer.
Phil Sims interviewer, full time.
Phil Sims autobiographer.
Oh, you guys have no. So there's.
I
love him.
I'm gonna send him a clip of what we're just saying right now, just so he knows the scope of the love and.
So there was a time, right? So when I had to be like 16 years old, right? And I'm a Celtic fan, right? So we went to. I couldn't get to Boston to go see the game, so the Knicks. I hated the Knicks and those Madison Square Garden was just a pain in the ass to get to for where we lived in upstate New York. So we used to take the trip to Jersey every now and again when the Celtics
for the Nets
were in town. We had relatives in the area, and we used to go to the Nets, right? So at the time, I had to be 16. Sims was cut in, what was it, 93 season, going into 94,
going into 94.
So it had to be maybe a year or two after he was cut, right? So he was, when he was first starting to get into the other side of the business, he was doing sideline reporting at one point, right?
Yes.
So we get to the Celtic net game, and sure as shit, who's the sideline reporter? Phil Sims, right? So I don't see him at first,
and
we had pretty good seats. We had listened to this. It's so funny. There's no way he remembers any of this, right? But it's funny the things you remember. So we were probably around 25 rows back behind one of the backboards, right? Sitting, watching the court long ways. And it's halftime, and you see the players going to walk off, and all of a sudden I see that beautiful head of hair. And I'm like, it's Phil Sims. I'm like, that's Phil Sims. And he's interviewing one of the coaches of the players as they were coming off the court. You know how they do.
This 94?
No, this wasn't 94. It had to be 90. Had to be somewhere between 96, 95, 96, 97 at the latest. Had to be somewhere in there. He wasn't playing anymore.
He was interviewing what's his name? Armin Gilliam, the Hammer.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
No, but that would be pretty funny.
It would be pretty funny if you could find it. But no, so dead ass, right? So I start screaming. I'm like, Phil! Now I'm a 16-year-old, 17-year-old maniac, right?
Right.
Phil, Mr. Sims, right? Just trying to get him to fucking look at me. And he went, we're in a stadium, there's tons of people. He didn't hear me. He goes walking off to the side. So I try to get lower, and I'm still screaming, Sims. And one of the security guards grabs me, and he's like, you can't. He's like, Mr. Sims is busy. You can't come here. You can't come down here. You can't go that way. Like, no. Like, turn around and stop screaming like an idiot. So I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. I take a couple of steps like back. I'm going the other way. The security guard turns around, and I turn back one last time, and I'm like, Phil, I love you, man. Right? And I caught him. Right? And he turns and he glances and he just like puts his hand up with like a weird look on his face, like, holy shit, this dude has problems. And then that was it. And that's my only Phil Sims experience that I could speak of. And it was glorious.
This is what this commitment that I want from you, Jimmy. If this happens and if Phil is there, if we were to see him, I want you to recreate that moment and just see if Phil has like
Phil.
That
41-year-old just let into the party. We get in, everybody's saying hello, all that stuff. All of a sudden, some maniac wearing my Sims jersey.
What was it? We used to go to my grade school team we used to play on. What was that? Maybe the Izod Center or Prudential. So we would, before the game, like 2 or 3 hours before the game, we would have our finals on the stadium, on the floor and stuff like that. So we one time snuck into the back and we were like hanging on the spare rims and we were going all crazy. And it's us being like, 13-year-old kids. And at the time, the Nets were pretty good. And like we snuck into the locker room, and like my friends was like there was no one cared. No one ever went to the games. This is like 4 hours before. They're letting us wild kids run around, and like one of my friends started fucking with what was it?
A free for all.
Oh, he had horrible sneakers, and he started taking his sneakers and throwing them around. Oh, Derek Coleman. He took Derek Coleman.
Oh, Derek Coleman.
It was. Oh my God, it was a maniac. So I remember that Nets team.
I would have been taking pictures in a Drazen Petrovic jersey.
We have pictures of us all messing around and all the other stuff. And they had the Devils were playing there, so they had all the hockey stuff as well. We were shooting around on the hockey nets. It was hysterical. I had the pictures, but I haven't. This is like almost 25 years, probably like 20 years ago.
Yeah, right.
I don't. They're not even digital. It's probably like who knows what happened. Reach out to my friend to see if he still has them. It'd be pretty funny.
I have that. See if he has the negatives.
Yeah, you guys got the negatives. What do you do with negatives now?
What do you guys do with the negatives?
My good Meet a Giant story. This must have been 2005, 2006. My dad, my brother, and my grandpa and me, we went to one of those autograph shows in Jersey where like everybody and their mother shows up and you pay X amount of dollars for a ticket to have somebody sign something, right?
Yeah.
Right? So Shockey was there. I paid a ticket to meet and have Shockey sign something. Shockey signed at Jersey, and Shockey actually invited me behind the table because he saw that I had the Phi Beta Handicapus wheelchair, and so got to sort of be behind the scenes with Shockey for about 5 minutes. And when I told him I lived in Philly, he was like, "Let me know. I want to come down there and kick some guy's ass for you." I was like, "All right." So I'm coming back from meeting Shockey, and I see Carl Banks coming towards me. And I recognize Carl Banks, but I hadn't paid for a ticket to have Carl Banks sign anything. He's not at a booth or anything. He's just walking by. And I see him, and I'm like, "Hey, Carl," kind of like Jimmy, right? And he sees me, and he sees that I'm in a wheelchair. He has automatic sympathy. And I had the 1986 Team Super Bowl photo like on a plaque. And he sees that I have that, and he comes over, he takes that out of my hands, and he signs it.
That's
without paying for it. And my dad was like, "You are the most entitled kid that I've ever met in my entire life." Like, people, they come to this show to make money, and this guy's just giving you his autograph. So I went from behind-the-scenes access with Shockey to an unpaid-for Carl Banks autograph.
See, I had the exact opposite interaction with Jeremy Shockey. Have I ever told it? I think I have.
What's your Shockey story?
So my father-in-law was doing some security work for the Giants. That's how like a lot of this got started, by the way. For Big Blue Travel, and they were having like breakfast early in the morning before the games, where like you would go into the tent that they had, and some of the players and the players' families would show up, and it was like a big thing. So they had it roped off. They had it like general population, and then they had it like VIP family. So
VIP and all that.
Right.
Shit, yeah.
Because I was with him, we were like, quote unquote working. They put us in the VIP section. Now it was like pretty much jam packed. And a lot of players came this day. I forget who it wasn't, I think they were playing, I want to say Minnesota, but I don't necessarily know. It wasn't a big rivalry game, but like a lot of players showed up to like eat and like hang with family before, they would go to warm up and stuff like that. So the players would sit in pretty much tables, and it was like cliquey. But it was like jam-packed, and it was just me, my father-in-law, and we're sitting down, and it's like Jeremy Shockey and like 5 other players, and it's probably like you could have like 8 at a table. At the time, he was dating Vita Guerrera, and she wasn't there yet. So he had like her like seat like reserved, kind of.
Sure. As you would.
Right. But it was like 7 players seated, and then it was like one I think they were actually all tight ends. They were all sitting as a group, and it was like her, like I guess it was her, but she wasn't there yet.
Was Dan Campbell there? Dan Campbell.
So I get my food.
Let me tell you something. Dan Campbell would have been a better hire than some of these other guys. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I get my food. Like, of course, I wanted to see Vita Guerrero come in because she was smoking hot at that time. I'm like,
oh yeah, that huh?
Untouchable.
I'd like to watch her leave.
Right, untouchable. So we get our food. We're sitting down. And there's only me and my father-in-law at the table, so we have a bunch of seats open. And Vasanti Shanko comes and goes to sit down in where, like, with the other tight ends, but it was taken because he was holding the seat, and he started fucking cursing at him, get the fuck out of here. So I was like, oh my god, Jeremy Shockey's such a big dick, and like other like people were like excited to see him, and he kept on like shooting people off for autographs and get out of here. I was like, oh my god. So then Vasanti Shanko, actually the only seats available were at my table, so he sits down at my table, and it was awkward as fuck. And like 2 minutes, complete silence, and I look up at him. I was like, "These eggs suck." He's like, "These eggs do suck." It was so funny, but like he was like a kid scolded who had to come back because Jeremy Shockey was being like a diva.
Yeah, I actually have a little Shockey story as well. So I used to go to Albany, right, for training camp, and it was Eli's rookie year. It's the same training camp. Remember, Marco, when we wrote the story with Kurt Warner, where he was like the nicest guy on the planet, and like went out of the way to, my stepson was like ushered out of the way for a picture from some moron, and Kurt like brought him in and was really a nice guy. Well, that same day, I was waiting to try to get Eli's autograph. Brandy had my stepson and Mackenzie at the time. We didn't even have Adriana, but God, that was how long ago it was. And we're trying to get Shockey's autograph. And at that time, like certain players who were designated to sign autographs, and I don't know if anybody's ever been to Albany, but what used to happen is they used to have the practice, and then as the players walked to the dorms or back through wherever they were going to the locker rooms or whatever to get changed, there would be a basically like a little line of but there would be a passageway for them to get through, and then all the fans would be all over on both sides of this little gateway. Well, the popular players would go a different route. So certain people would run to the other place to try to cut off some of the popular players, say a Strahan, say a Tiki, say a Shockey. And it just so happens Brandy went around to the other side and tried to get Shockey's autograph or to see who she can get over there. And it was my stepson, who at the time had to be maybe 7 or 8 years old, Mackenzie, who had to be at the time 3, right, 4 at the most, and he comes walking up, and she's like, Jeremy, Shockey, can you sign he's wearing a Shockey jersey? Can you sign the back of his jersey? Can you sign his jersey? And he just went walking right past her, like they didn't even exist. They didn't even acknowledge them. And she literally was like, you can't even sign for a kid, not even an adult. You can't sign for a kid. And he turned around and he gave her a dirty look, gave her like a huff and a puff, and came walking back and like didn't even say a word to Jesse. Just took the marker, signed it, and walked off.
Wow, what a dude.
That's a dick move, right? Like you can't even like, can I take a picture with the kid? Like, I'm sorry, I had a rough practice. Like I'm exhausted. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're bullshitting at that point, like just come over and be a good sport about it. And it just like completely just didn't want to do it, got guilted into doing it, just awful. At that point, you're just like, God, I don't even want the autograph. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it.
I have a funny autograph. It's about a Knicks player actually, and we were at like one of the car shows, and Charles Oakley, he was just there like at a table signing free autographs, and like the kid was, I don't know him, but he was like ahead of me in line, and he had the jersey ready, and he was like, Oakley takes like a black Sharpie marker, and the kid's like, oh, can you can you sign it in silver? And he looks at him, and he's like, you wasted my time with a goddamn pen? And he's like, oh, I just wanted you to he's like, I wanted you to sign it in silver. And he's like, all right. So he signs it, and like the kid's walking away, and he's like, asshole. I was like, oh, why the fuck is he calling? He signed it. Why is he calling him an asshole? Fuck, Oakley signed it, asshole, on the jersey. I was like, oh my god. He forever gets points in my book for that. That was hysterical.
That's hilarious.
The kid was furious.
The old man cometh.
He didn't.
We went
around, man.
We went to Albany. So the year that we went to Albany was the year after the first Super Bowl. So it was probably like 2008.
Okay.
And the weekend that we went was the week that Eli signed his first big extension.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So everybody's talking about Eli and all that stuff that's going on. And my dad bought another team photo from the Super Bowl, right? And they had like a free autograph session the one day that we were there. And my dad took it around, and he was just going to get as many autographs as he put on it. Like, if you look at the thing now down in my basement, it's covered in autographs to the point where you can't even,
make them out.
Players.
Yeah.
But we gave my dad such a hard time because if you guys remember, they took a quarterback, in the third round that year, a kid by the name of Rhett Bomar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember Rhett Bomar.
To be the backup to Eli, right? So Rhett wasn't on that team that went to the Super Bowl, right? He was a rookie that hadn't played, and my dad was just going around getting his big autograph. So he sticks the team photo in front of Rhett Bomar, and Rhett's like, I don't know if I can sign this. I'm not in the pic. I wasn't on this team. I'm not in the picture. And whoever he was with, the other player was like, "Are you kidding me? Just sign the picture. Just sign it, right?" So and Rhett Bomar signed it, and I'm not kidding you. It's the largest signature on the plaque. He took up the most space. We were like, I mean, you could have signed it and taken up 1/4 of the space that you did, but he took up the entire bottom panel. It's so funny.
It is funny.
Not even
That's hilarious.
Not even on the picture.
Yeah.
It was probably the first autograph he signed. He was probably I don't know what to do.
I have a Giants ball with a bunch of signatures, and now I can't remember who signed what.
I have one of those. So that year that we were there, I think it was Hakeem Nicks' rookie year too. And we have a ball that Hakeem Nicks signed, and he signed it number 18 because that was the
number
the first
at the time. Yeah.
number that he wore.
Yeah.
So we often say if we went and got that ball appraised, whatever Hakeem Nicks' signature is worth, which really isn't much. But whatever it's worth, it's probably quadrupled because it's a number that he wore for one training camp.
Yeah, that usually holds a little bit of value there.
Yeah.
Those rarities like that.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, you want to wrap this up? Ended a little.
Yeah, this is fun.
Wow, we went long.
This is a good show.
Yeah.
This was fun.
This was.
And we didn't even talk about Herzlick.
No. Thank the baby Jesus. All right.
We made the whole thing through without talking about Herzlick.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him next week.
Yeah. Let that blow over.
All right, fellas.
Maybe
right,
everyone. Maybe Herzlick will be at the event.
Yeah, we can get a one-off.
It's a linebacker event, huh?
Yeah.
All right, gents.
All right.
Good night. Good show.
All right. Good night. Good show.
Good night.
Night. All right, everyone. We are going to wrap this up. As always, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and if you're not following me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, please do so. I will talk to you all tomorrow. We got an interview coming out tomorrow that I'll put it out. And peace out, peeps.
Thank you for using